People on social media, particularly fueled by the American right wing, are spreading a lot of untruths. What is being said out there about aggressive teaching of conversion of kids to being LGBT, that is something that is being weaponized.
Joe Russell with the front line with Joe and Joe. Once again, let's go into the breach. Justin Trudeau pushes back against the Muslim community who are protesting against gender ideologies in schools. Play the clip.
People on social media, particularly fueled by the American right wing, are spreading a lot of untruths.
A challenging encounter was captured on film as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau faced questions from concerned Muslim parents.
Which is something that, Islam has...
The issue at hand, the teaching of gender ideology in schools.
Kids alone. It is not what is being said out there about aggressive teaching of conversion of kids to being LGBT. That is something that is being weaponized by people who are not doing it because of their interest in supporting the Muslim community.
Leave our kids alone!
The Muslim community in Calgary has been vocal in recent weeks. They have rallied, protest after protest, behind a powerful slogan, "Leave our kids alone."
This is interesting because Trudeau has to walk a very dangerous tightrope. Can't criticize Muslims. Can't criticize Muslims. Yet they are protesting basically one of his pillar policies. Interesting. Pay attention to see how Mr. Trudeau handles this. Ultimately, if you ask me, he should avoid it. He looks very uncomfortable in this clip, and he should. Who do your children belong to, Canada? You or the state? Play the clip.
Prime Minister Trudeau has decided to demonize the Premier of New Brunswick in a recent fundraiser he attended. The attack was a reaction to the new changes the province added to Policy 713 in order to keep parents informed about their children's decision to change their pronouns or switch genders. Assuming all parents are abuse of ignorance who will harm their children, Trudeau prefers to keep them in the dark and to let schools control this part of children's identities. So is our government now a substitute for real parents? During the Rainbow Railroad Freedom fundraiser, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau decided to paint Premier Blaine Higgs as a far-right actor. He attacked the Premier because of recent changes to Policy 713, which was introduced in 2020. Policy 713 was revised recently and a new part was added which applies to students under 16. The schools will require parental consent in order for their preferred first name to be officially used.
The phrase, "it takes a village," makes me itch. No one has a say as far as how your children should be raised, more so than you as a parent. You know, this is a communist idea where the state basically pushes the family, i.e. the parents, out of the way. Because ultimately, socialism, and more radically speaking, communism, pushes God out of the way. And the state becomes God. In this case, basically the state's saying, I know better than you, and no one knows better than a parent. In a pluralistic society, people have different ideas, and you have to respect them. The state is usurping its authority, and people are okay with that. That's why Canada needs an exorcism. Trudeau thinks he's a cowboy. He's also continuing to lie when people can't buy food and they're losing their homes. Play the clip.
When we got elected, the very first thing we did was raise taxes on the wealthiest 1% so we could lower them for the middle class. We put an end to Stephen Harper's failed experiment with trickle-down theory. Unfortunately, we see the Conservative Party continuing to look at tax breaks for the wealthiest, cutting programs for the most vulnerable, and hoping that trickle-down this time, after decades of it not working everywhere else, will suddenly start to work. That's not going to happen. We've demonstrated that you grow an economy from the bottom up and the middle out. We put forward a Canada Child benefit that has lifted over 500,000 kids out of poverty across this country.
Rhetoric does not put food on the table. These people are delusional. They're delusional. Who's more delusional, though? Justin or the people who continue to support him as they get ground into the dust? You know, this is one of the things that boggle my mind. If you're wealthy and you buy into all of this climate alarmism and this woke nonsense and all of it, and you can afford it, we can agree to disagree. And I know people like this, but you still could pay your bills. The people that blow my mind are the people that are economically getting ground into the dust by people like Justin Trudeau and Joe Biden, and they still support them because they buy into their lies. They tell themselves lies. Most of the reason why is because of political identity, and that's how they identify as a liberal, as a progressive. And it doesn't matter what these people do to them. They still support them. And by the way, Trudeau knows that. You know, a lot of people say he's out of touch, Trudeau. He doesn't know what he's doing. In many ways, he does. Politicians see something. It's like a marketer. They see something that you don't. They have their finger on the pulse and they exploit it. And ultimately, what are they exploiting it for? Power. He has an agenda, and that agenda isn't you. All of this is the spin to push forth the agenda. It's a distraction. People pay attention to the distraction, and then he carries forth with his agenda and continues to bludgeon you. That's what's going on. It's time for people to open their eyes. Ultimately, though, how do you open your eyes? There lies the question. To be honest with you, you got to put your feet on solid ground. You got to go back to first principles. God, family, and then nation. When you have God and family, the nation follows. Canada pledges $450 million for UN climate change fund. So let me get this straight. Interest rate hikes, people losing their home, they can't buy food, you can't put gas in your car, and your government gives away $500 million to the UN because of climate alarmists. Make sense? Actually, it does make sense because you're distracted by all of the nonsense that they want to distract you with. And that is what they are shooting for. Sustainable goals. They're serving their globalists while they ground you into the dust and distract you from the real fight. The real fight is this: the people, all people of goodwill against the establishment. You got to get your country back. Stop being distracted. Jagmeet couldn't be outdone by Trudeau. He had to address the interest rate hikes. Of course, he goes on to blame the CEOs for the inflation and they're left unscathed, blah, 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 blah. Last I checked, Jagmeet, you're a pretty rich guy. What are you doing personally to help these people? Talking about CEOs and blaming them for the inflation the liberals caused because they printed money. You printed money you didn't have. You devalued your Canadian dollar. That's one of the driving reasons why you have inflation. Once again, people don't hear that because they belong to political identity, tribal groups, and it's like talking to the wall. So Jagmeet continues to beat his drum and blame the CEOs. It's the leftist line that's been going on forever. I hear it in America all the time. Ultimately, though, it comes down to this. What are you doing to help your brother? What are you doing, Jagmeet? Not with taxpayer money, with your own money. You are a multi-millionaire. What are you doing to help people? That's the better question. That's the question the press should ask Jagmeet when he blames rich CEOs. You're one of them. Trudeau doesn't deliver again, but it doesn't matter because he doesn't answer questions anyway, and results don't matter either. Play the clip.
Only 1 year ago, the Bank of Canada told us that interest rates would remain very low for a long time.
Interest rates are very low, and they're going to be there for a long time.
Interest rates are at historic lows, Glenn.
We have been unusually clear about the future path for interest rates.
No.
That turned out to be not true at all, as we just hit 5%.
Trudeau had promised Canadians that they didn't have to worry about higher interest rates, that rates would be low forever. Now Canadians are hit with the double whammy of higher costs for food, gas, housing, and groceries, and now higher costs on all that debt that Trudeau's policies have forced them to take on.
Interest rates will remain low. Mr. Trudeau, the interest rates just went up. I said that. Interest rates will rise. Does it matter? Do you care? You're going to vote for me anyway. Let's look at Mr. Trudeau and Joe Biden standing shoulder to shoulder at the NATO summit. Biden calls Zelensky Vladimir. Par for the course. Play the clip.
Allies all agreed to lift the requirements for membership action plan for Ukraine and to create a path to NATO membership, while Ukraine continues to make progress on necessary reforms. But we're not waiting for that process to be finished to make the long-term commitments that we're making to Ukraine's security. Vladimir and I shouldn't be so familiar. Mr. Zelensky and I talked about the kind of guarantees we could make in the meantime.
Notice the face of Italy's Meloni as she basically stares at Biden. I'll be honest with you. I stare at him in a similar manner. Not enough people in America do, though. Know why? Because America needs an exorcism too, Canada. You're not alone. We need an exorcism too. Or Canadian crazy people. I like crazy people. Play the clip.
About the wind today out here on the ground in Canada. Coming to you live, reporting for Groundhog News.
Journalists, we have a special jail for journalists.
Out here at the range today, enjoying my freedoms, and I came across a certain protest.
This is outrageous. Where are the armed men who come in to take the protesters away?
There's protesters out here.
This kind of behavior is never tolerated.
And they seem to want Trudeau to go straight to jail.
Right away.
The guy is talking into a magazine for bullets. Cuckoo! But at the same time, crazy people are fun. I much prefer watching crazy people. That's why you watch me. To all my Canadian American friends, if you like what we do on the front line, I'm asking you to give $1. Just $1. Production costs money. We do it for you. We are self-funded, and $1 goes a long way. That's less than a cup of coffee. In Canada, a cup of coffee might cost $5, so you're getting off easy. Please, just give us $1, and we'll keep the content coming your way. God bless you, and remember, stay free.